Welcome to the Clerks and Response podcast.
That was a weak clap on my part, but it should work.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it at all, but as long as it's on your screen there.
You never hear it, though, so...
and
That's
weird.
Like,
week. Is it my own clap drowns it out?
It might be. I'm not sure what it is. That one was definitely a quieter one, but there's been weeks where it's been quite loud, and you still didn't hear it, so... I knew you didn't hear that one, because I barely heard it, but it showed up on the recording, so that's all that matters.
All right. And, well... I don't know. We don't do the preamble bantercast anymore, so we're just in it. We're just in Pixel Response 159. This is Nathan, and Paul is here as well.
That's me, yeah. Also, that guy with the small penis and the loud engine that just drove by. So shout out to that guy.
I didn't hear that guy either, so I need to go to an ear doctor. I have wax problems or something. But yeah. We're here with the Sumo update. The May Bash show well underway. It's probably over by the time you hear this. It got exciting in the last week, actually. I was kind of like bored with it last week because it seemed pretty set what was going to go down. And at the very least, it does come down to the final day to determine who will win.
So you don't know yet?
Yeah. As of right now, I don't know. Shit. It's probably transpiring in Japan right now.
Shit. So I have time to catch up.
Spoil it. Yeah. If you'd want.
Before you spoil it for me.
Yeah, the two big things that happened, like the far and away leader, the guy I was talking about, Terunofuji, who's on like the big comeback trail, he had a disqualification happen where he grabbed the guy's top knot, which is a big no-no. It was so weird because it was like, oh, he totally schooled that guy. But then it was like, oh no, the judges are going to stop and look at this. And then his hand kind of rakes across the top of his head and they're like, disqualified. This doesn't count. And it's like, what? It was the only loss of his up to that point. He could have gone for a perfect tournament. So that opened him up to then get caught up by a couple other guys in the tournament. And then he actually had a legitimate loss on day 14. Dude Endo took him out right at the edge. It was more of an issue of falling before the other guy. But, I would call it an actual loss. So now Takakeisho, the Ozeki, has a chance to defeat him tomorrow and force a playoff, which it's just nice when it comes down to the last day and it's not decided on day 13 or something. And it's well, the rest of this is kind of pointless. So at least it came down to it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that all went. And cool. That's the Sumo story.
The Sumo story.
Yeah. So next tournament should be more exciting. Hakuho will hopefully be back, the Yokozuna. And if Terunofuji does win this tournament, he'll be in a position to get promoted to Yokozuna if he wins that one. So more is on the line in the summertime. But yeah, Sumo. Cool. Do you have any sports updates over there? Or handball or okay.
Talk about
playoff basketball.
Cricket. Playoffs are happening, so I'll know next year around this time.
Yeah.
What do we want?
Yeah, basketball, there's a lot going on there too, but I don't need to get into it. It's
How about
just
that 2K21 being the free Epic game?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So I basically just threw away $12. Oh, well. I guess I got my 10 hours in.
And it's funny because... Now. The other game you were talking about, I can't remember which one now, is part of a Humble bundle for $12 or something. That the other Tekken, you can buy.
Oh, is it?
In just a Humble bundle thing.
I was frowning at Humble for a couple weeks there because there was just no bundles. It was just there's books or something. And it's I don't care.
Yeah.
I want games.
Yeah.
But
they're PDFs. The books that you can buy from them are bad because they're not even the good e-reader type, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure they're just PDFs that you can look in a PDF. So you just need a pretty
open-ended e-reader to get them on there.
And even then I don't think that does the page turning thing good or whatever, a little bit of a hassle. So, like,
Yeah.
even if I wanted this book on, like, a digital format, this is the worst possible way to get that book. Still.
Yeah, I've still bought a few that way just because, like, oh, a bunch of Godzilla comics or something. Like, why not? It's barely any money, but I have no way of reading them. I've never really taken advantage of it. It's just dumb stuff I get roped into on that site. But, oh well, I got to play it a bunch and had a good week with it, so I'm not mad.
Sure. I mean, yeah, and it's also one of those things that's like, yeah, I could have got it in the bundle, but then, like, I'm paying the same price essentially anyways and getting 20 games I don't care about anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, I'll take a look at it in case I missed out on, like, some tangential stuff.
Well, it's a Namco bundle going on right now, which is it's the lowest tier of it, too.
Okay.
So,
well, darn. But I did install Tekken, but I have yet to play any of it.
Do you care about Pac-Man 256?
I mean, I think I've played that, right? Is that the one that's, like, basically like Crossy Road?
Yes, it's that one.
Okay.
The, like, non-ending one with the glitch chasing you or something. Yeah. And then Tekken 7 Tales of Berseria and Katamari Damacy reroll. Actually, that'd be kind of neat to have.
I think we have that on Switch, but yeah.
$15, like, those are the 4 you would get.
Okay. The Tales games, I've just kind of, like, long moved on from ever caring about that series.
I just don't know how I would get into it.
Yeah, like, I played and enjoyed one once, and it's just like, there's, like, 8 more. I was like, I don't know. I'm not up for it. But oh well. That's video games. I bought a car today, so that was a thing I've never done.
Nice.
I find the, like, weird squishiness around, like, bartering and haggling, like, the worst thing ever in that industry, because it's, like, expected to happen, and it's just like, can you just, like, actually just be straight with us?
Like, tell me what the lowest you're going to take is, and that is what I will give you.
Right. Or, like, you know, maybe I'll put an option on if it's more reasonable at the top, but why are we pretending like your profit margin has to be this or whatever?
Okay.
Like, it's just a weird thing.
I do have a few questions then. First, I think you kind of answered one of them. You're going through a dealer of some sort then, not like previously.
No, not just off the street, random person. Okay. Yeah, we decided to go to a dealership just for headache-free stuff.
New or previously owned?
It's still pre-owned, but it's by the same company. So,
okay.
Yeah. Which I don't know why I'm being cagey about it being a Toyota, because it is. So, whatever.
Okay.
But, yeah, Japanese.
I mean,
the VIN number has a J in it, so it's really from Japan. I learned that today, which is cool.
Sure. That was going to be another question, was what car,
what's your VIN number?
Type of car. Yeah, your VIN number.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Follow that up with your social insurance number.
Oh, yeah, just a second.
The 3 wacky digits on the back of your credit card, and we'll be good.
Oh, I left that out. Okay. It is a Prius C hatchback. So hybrid, saving on that gas. And it's bright yellow, which I thought was fun. It was a serious X factor for us, was it being not blue or black or gray or white. So we won that, I guess. But
like, I don't necessarily disagree, but like, why not any of those colors?
They just blend into the background of the world so much.
Okay. The reason why I brought this up is because we actually got one too, another car too as well here, and it's red. And I don't like that, because red is statistically the most hit and is the color that is most involved in accidents. And I don't know why.
It's like some sort of color psychology, like a bull sees red and charges at it or something.
Like, I guess. I don't know what it is. And then I remember
or like Hitchcock color theory.
I've had 3 accidents in my life. 2 of them were in a red car my parents had.
Whoa. Okay.
So I
don't know what the stats are on yellow. Like, it totally looks like a cab if you just like were sitting around. Like
Okay.
that's the one like X Factor thing about like if I'm waiting at an airport to pick up Brittany, or like people
some
gonna start
dude jumps
coming by, and it's like, get out of here. This is a privately owned car. I don't care about you. Like, what is that gonna
Take
have
me
in
to this
store?
address. Just hands you like a card with nothing on
Or
it.
follow that car. And it's like, no.
Follow that car.
So those are potential headaches in the future from this decision, but I don't know. I like that it's bright. And then, yeah, it's just, I don't know. We're just not cut out for like a big drawn out process with this. It
Sure.
was just like, this is good enough deal. I don't feel like I've been totally cheesed. Let's just say it's done, and then we'll be moving on. And then I won't have to worry about my brakes on my 25-year-old thing anymore, because it's like getting creaky and scary sometimes. So
Yeah. A whole lot of problems get alleviated, for sure.
like even just test driving it, it's like, oh wow, like you stop and it stops and it doesn't like lurch.
Okay. That's actually
You know?
a scary thing to hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it stops without any ancillary noises and like any threat that it wouldn't. It's just confidently working. So huge relief. Yeah. No, my current one's on its last legs for sure. And now it's like T-minus 3 days or something until we're finally done with that. So.
Oh, so you didn't drive it home yet? They're just going through like paperwork or something?
Yeah, they're getting it ready for us and
oh,
whatnot,
right, because
so.
you need insurance and you need
Yeah.
It's the weekend for like anybody
And it's a
listening
long
to this
weekend
later.
too.
Yeah.
Queen Victoria existed a long time ago, so we acknowledge that still for some reason. Which I'm kind of weirded out about.
Like, was she
But,
great? Why do we care?
She was one of the longest serving monarchs or whatever, but I feel that's just this like larger thing of just like, why do we care about the royal family? They seem to be dirtbags. Like,
to the point where like the only good one was like, fuck my family because they don't like my wife, and just like disowned them.
Right. Or even again with like Diana in the 80s, like I'm gonna flaunt all of this stupid tradition and run or whatever, and then people are pissed about it, and it's like, all right, well, weird, terrible traffic accident death for you, and it's like, okay, cool. And then meanwhile, Prince Andrew gets to exist. Like, it's just terrible.
It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna apologize to our British listeners. Figure that out. Get rid of those people. They're bad for you. All right.
Nobody.
Guillotine.
There's no British listeners. They don't care about us. They don't care about the colonies.
Go over to France, sharpen up some stuff, but whatever. Yeah. No, I guess that's a call for, well, whatever. I basically said Fantano should die too, so I don't know what the show is. We're just like, whose death should we call upon? But no, let's ease up on that. I apologize. Just in general, because that's aggro. But I'm going to say that's residual car stress, and now that's going to fade away because that chapter's over.
So, obviously, I'm not going to get into specifics about where we work, but we work in an area that I know firsthand, if you don't have a vehicle, it sucks getting there.
It's pretty
Holy
remote.
Fuck. I live in an area that is like I have pretty good access to like a lot of places through bus. It takes me an hour and a half of riding a bus and then 40 minutes of walking to get to our work from where I live.
What's with the stop placement out there? It's just weird. Like, they just give up at the entrance and go away.
Not even at the entrance, like where the courier warehouses are. It doesn't even go up to the warehouse or to the like cargo area. Why?
Just one more, like 5 more minutes for you would really help.
It's a 40-minute walk. To the point where if you look on Google Maps how to get there, it suggests, okay, you're going to take this, and then you're going to call an Uber for the last 5 minutes.
Like, I swear people drive out there to jog because it's like kind of novel seeing airplanes. Yeah.
I see people every now and then like walking their dog or jogging down that little path.
Yeah. Like, it's sort of scenic, I guess, if you don't see it every day. So,
or if like you're not running late and you need to get there because you have a thing you need to do, like
yeah,
it can
so
be
you're
okay,
never in
I
a
guess.
spirit of like appreciating this valley or whatever. But
It's like up a little slant for most of the walk too. So it's just like more strenuous than it needs to. Like, it sucks. Getting to work sucks. So, and like just in general, we live in one of those cities that our transit is getting better, but it's still fucking garbage for how big our city is. And it is a driving city. It's spread out and not up. Like at all.
And we've managed to like bungle having like any kind of electronic system for it. It's like, no, you got some coins. You got like a paper ticket. Like we're still like a decade back because we just didn't do that well. I think there was plans to do that, but they just kind of tried writing their own software and failed like 5 years ago. And then just ate that cost and continued with like paper
you
tickets.
Used to bus a lot like back.
I had a pass and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So you're more than aware that like we can bus, but it sucks. Our city is not meant for busing with our transit
with
system.
our shifts too. It would get bad because it would go late into the night, and there's like, I can't stick around because the last bus is coming. So
I had that problem so many times to the point where I needed like one of the guys to drive me to the airport. Like to the actual terminal because that's
to take that bus because it
like
runs
the
later.
last bus out. Yeah,
good old 300 or something
like that. I think it's the 300. I think you're right. There's the 100 and the 300, and the 300 is the one I would take. Yeah.
But hey, Calgary bus facts
sucks, man.
The other vehicle thing, I guess I'm like, I don't know, just with the Prius versus like we seem to live in like truck country. Like pickup truck world. So this is like sort of in defiance of that. I don't need that. So I think it'll suit all of our needs.
I've never been
I'm honestly buying groceries and occasionally like an old typewriter or computer or something, like nothing crazy that's not going to fit in this thing. So
hatchback,
unnecessary.
We've had an SUV for a while here. Just something where like if we needed to, we could have space to move a thing or two, but like, fuck getting a truck for sure. Like, fuck that so much.
Yeah, but they're everywhere. It's sort of the vibe out here. I saw one today that had a giant thing on it that said Raptor, and I thought it was a different type of Ford completely, but it was still an F-150. I don't know why it had.
They're all F-150s out here. Yeah. There's a lot of them. Also, truck nuts.
Do you see truck nuts?
Not anymore. There was a few years there where like every truck had truck nuts. And that was like maybe 2004 to 2006 or something. It was a while back.
Yeah. Cars.
Yeah.
We have one. Yeah. Getting rid of the old one is probably just going to be donating it again to the Kidney Foundation. Which is what we've done before.
You might be able to get some money out of it at like Pick Apart or something.
I guess, but it's just a headache thing too. But I don't know. It's just easy.
Yeah.
For some reason, whenever it gets into like the murkiness of like signing over things to people, I just rather never deal with it. It's a stress I don't want. But I guess I still have the stress of like phoning an insurance company and registering things again. And all of that fun stuff in the next couple days. So,
dude, I hate my insurance company so fucking much. I hate them.
Did they ever like really push hard on a phone call or something? Because that was my like.
They straight up said, "We want you to pay the rest of the year out because of COVID, and if you don't, we're canceling your plan next month." So we just are like, "Oh, there's $1,800 we need to find," and like did because we need insurance, but. That was fucking shitty.
That's pretty strong arm. That's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking bad. But then, like, what do you do, right? Like, we need insurance. Like, it's better than trying to find somebody else during the COVID shit going on. Like, I don't know. And it was better to just, like, pay out the rest of the year and just be like, all right, let's figure this out when our term with them is up. Like, we're not re-signing with them. Fuck them.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that stuff's lingering, but I gotta shake it loose. It's over. It's like just relax time now.
I was gonna say it's like over for you, basically.
Yeah, we made sure it just went through. So let's move on to Clerks 2. I guess. I didn't have a little Kevin Smith conversation.
Oh. These conversations kind of bum me out because I really liked Kevin Smith for a long time, and every time I like hear from him again, I like him less. For some reason.
With the reboot, like, did the reboot not pan out? I haven't seen it.
The reboot was fucking terrible. It was.
Oh, was it?
It was so fucking bad. Yeah.
I know, like, one of our last like conversations pre-revival, like our own reboot, was Yoga Hosers and how awful that was. Is it a marginal improvement over that?
Yoga Hosers was just a bad movie completely, and it felt like he was being just an asshole or something with it. Like, it felt almost aggressive and like I can do whatever I want because people will still pay me more.
I don't even need to try. Like, just
it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
At least the reboot was kind of like him being like, I'm trying so hard to stay relevant. Please still love me. So it's almost like a more okay because it's so pathetic.
I guess, yeah. What's your read on Clerks 2? Because that's the subject of our most recent one that's going up, the OK video.
I loved Clerks 2
sequel. I enjoyed it too. Yeah.
Primarily because Rosario Dawson has the most charisma out of like anybody I've ever seen on film.
Okay. She's definitely elevating that whole cast.
She carries that film like so hard. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Like amateur actors kind of bouncing off of her, but she's able to like make that work. Yeah.
I guess that's the thing, right? Is that I sometimes forget that like, oh right, these are just some like dipshit community theater friends he had that like kind of got thrown in this world. So the fact that I'm expecting them to be able to elevate with her is ridiculous, but at least they can play off of her and be okay.
Yeah. Just Dante and Randall, I guess. Yeah. Like just them having to fill a lot of time, a lot of dialogue, and kind of, rising to the occasion, I felt, for the most part.
I do feel like Clerks 2 is like one of those last bastions of an era where you could say or have a joke about like Porch Monkey in a movie without like it being the absolute worst thing in the world for society.
Oh man, like we have to dance around it in our show because we strive to be like PG for like if we ever get on iTunes. Yeah, sure. But that conversation is definitely like a thing that's aged into this weird category of like, no, I'm taking it back. I'm making a stand. And it's like, I'm defiant white guy who doesn't want to move on from these like terms. And you're like, that is no longer a cool thing to be.
And it wasn't cool then either, to be frank.
Yeah.
But it was like maybe acceptable as a joke.
Like, that's like part of his Arrested Development, like adults crisis thing is like trying to hold on to like who his grandma was in his mind or whatever and all this stuff. It's like, no, she wasn't racist. She was just cool. Like, except that one time and that other time. Like just the kind of wrestling with that
and like shit. Yeah. That movie has weirdly, we'll get into like, I have kind of a segue from this. That movie is weirdly of an era that just doesn't exist anymore, and it's weird,
and
because
it's like only 2006, 2007 or whatever, but they're like talking about like, oh, the new Transformers movie is going to come out, like very specifically. Like it's like rooted in that time when it's like, they're going to make a live action Transformers movie. It's like that's true. That's going to come out next summer, like from when this is happening.
People were still talking about like Lord of the Rings regularly.
Yeah.
Like
it was just won Best Picture like 2 years ago. So it's sort of relevant.
Yeah.
Like it's a threat to the trilogy.
It's weird. It's a weird, like
window of time.
It's a weird last like stand in that era, I would say, of like a comedy.
That's something it made me really appreciate about just like what Kevin Smith was doing for a long time, because like with Mallrats and stuff too, of just like, here's a window into like a moment when this was what teens were doing and like what you would be up to, and it's
he doesn't do that anymore.
Oh yeah, or like like comic conventions are like starting to happen and Stan Lee is here, and it's like, oh, those would get so much bigger. Like, that's kind of cool that he's like,
oh, like
this is like an appearance at a mall
convention.
Yeah. Like, he's kind of like, it's cool that he was on that wavelength like early, so now it's kind of almost, it's not a documentary, but it's sort of like capturing that era's like how the scope of that stuff before it got bigger and bigger and bigger in San Diego Comic-Con and all this kind of crazy stuff. Because yeah, it's one of those things that makes me wish he'd follow up with like those characters from Chasing Amy and be like, their industry like exploded after that movie. What would they be up to? Like movie deals and crazy stuff, or like, are they pissed at Marvel? Like, what would they be up to?
There kind of was a follow up though, right? That's the whole like idea of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, was that Blunt Man and Chronic, which was that comic.
Their dumb comic
blew up and
became
a movie with Mark Hamill as Cockblocker. So
which will get bigger too. So, you know, voice actor genius.
And
Star Wars coming back obviously is really the thing.
And it's a weird thing to talk about in retrospect too, because Clerks 2 is a window in time to like this weird confused era of, like you were saying, he was just kind of like, no, my grandma was just cool, she wasn't racist or whatever, and just kind of like this guy holding on to what he knew. And that's kind of like what the whole point of Clerks 2 is just kind of like being stuck into like what you know, and just kind of like being stagnant or whatever as you grow older and the world changes around you. That's like literally the point of that movie. And it's weird that that movie also transcends that into being like, oh, right, this character is still a weird racist somehow in a world that like isn't anymore.
Yeah. I do kind of like, the message almost seems to be like, just be happy with what you know and be comfortable or something at the end, because they just like go back to the store and decide to just own it, like literally own it, and then just own that that's what they're about, you know? Like, we just love the Quick Stop and just want to rent videos and sell coffee and whatever. Like, why leave our favorite town for Florida? You know?
It is the most unrealistic part of that movie.
That it works out.
Because in the end, nobody ever gets what they want.
Or if it follows up with like, and then Netflix happened and we had to close like 6 months later. You know,
COVID happened.
Which is what happened to me. Yeah. Like with like, oh, I got my video store job. Woo! And then it's like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. So. You were living your own Clerks life. Actually, I was too.
I was living the Clerks 2 life. Yeah.
The reason why I fell in love with Clerks 1 was because when I saw it, I was working in a gas station.
Okay.
Giving people smokes.
Yeah, and I was at a video store, and everybody was like, dude, you got to see this. It's basically your life right now. It's like, oh, yeah? You know, when customers come in and they don't really see the signs or perceive anything that is telling them the thing that you have to then tell them, it's like, yeah, that's true. At least we don't have eggs. Like, yeah. It was a fun watch. But yeah, so that's what we go into more so on this week's episode. We don't get to talk much about the donkey scene because it just felt so weird to talk about it right at the end of a kind of like heartwarming discussion we had about becoming adults or something. And then it was like, oh yeah, so then there's this donkey scene. And it's like, you got to cut that.
It kind of feels like that was the start of him just being like, I have to have a funny moment, right?
Like, I got to get edgy or something.
Like,
yeah. Like in the first one, like, dude dies masturbating in the bathroom or whatever. And like, we got to get crazy at the end of the movie. So there's this donkey show at the, like, what is the restaurant?
Oh, Moobies.
Moobies. That's right. Yeah. And the cops come and it's just this big crazy thing. But yeah, it was hard to feather into that conversation off of where we were. So
yeah, it's such a dumb moment too. Like, that movie I honestly really feel that movie has a lot of heart in it. It has some good quality Rosario Dawson, and like the other dudes are okay every now and then, peppered with like kind of cringy bullshit. Even back then, like, I'm sure watching it now it's worse, but like even back then I was just like, this porch monkey scene, it doesn't feel right. Like,
well, and then he kind of keeps hanging his hat on it. Like, he has a shirt that's like defiant about it and like brings it up a couple more times, and it's just like, yeah, this is 2006, I guess. Like, this is a little.
And then they like
rusty.
give it credence by having like Wanda Sykes and oh my god, I can't remember his name. The dude that plays her husband.
Oh man, yeah, it's like a one nickname name. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. But like that part also back, like, this was even before woke culture, felt kind of like it's okay to make this joke. We have a black friend. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it definitely rings that way a bit in the scene. Yeah.
Like, I guess
someone's signing off on it implicitly by being here. So we're
the
fine,
worst part about it is that, like, he's a white, the middle class growing up and like rich now, obviously, like, white dude. Like, he's not even like Jewish. Like, he has nothing that is like, oh, you were like shunned as a kid for your ethnicity of any type. It's like, get me somebody who knows what it's like to be like cast out or something. Like, this is the right type of dude.
I mean, it's like a type of comedy I would think, like Lenny Bruce or like Louis C.K. or something, where it's just being deliberately transgressive just to kind of make a point about free speech or something. But
sure,
with a decade and change now, it's just kind of, I don't know. It's hard to really rationalize.
It's weird. It's weird. Like, it's just one of those things that, like, this is pretty racist on my part too. It's weird that, like, he doesn't have any knowledge on being hated for something besides, like, maybe being fat or whatever, but that doesn't count. Like, at least when like a Jewish writer or director makes a Jew joke, that makes sense because they kind of lived it and, like, they have a connection to it. Kevin Smith is like the most standard American white dude.
Yeah.
So,
like, what flag does he have to plant, really?
It's like super weird to me.
They won't take language away from me. It's like, yeah.
Sure.
That term does not come up much at all, I will say. Like, I hadn't really thought about it until I watched this movie again. So, yeah.
So before that movie, I had never heard that term. After that movie, I've only heard it in regards to that part in that movie. I've never heard that spoken.
At least he zeroed in on, like, a pretty weird text case, I guess.
At least he brought up a new racist term and brought it to light for people that hadn't heard it before. So awesome.
Polish it off for the new age. But weird. So thanks, Kevin. Yeah. But you were going to segue out of Clerks into...
it's kind of... It's not into anything better. I've been listening to podcasts from roughly that time, 2007-ish. And the amount of the times they say questionable words is crazy.
Like, just really offhand, no one's even thinking about it yet? Yeah.
I have, like, on multiple occasions, I don't use it often, but I have used retarded. Like, when I am, like, really saying, like, this thing is beyond stupid, essentially. Like, it's the most aggressive.
This is stupid. Yeah.
The most aggressive form of, like, moronic or something, right?
Sure.
And I've used that term a few times. They say it every episode. I'm not going to, like, bother naming names because that's weird and, like, there's no point.
Well, yeah, it's old episodes, so they're past doing that anyway. But
you know who I'm talking about.
We. I do, yeah, but it's okay. That's definitely a word I felt more comfortable throwing around earlier in my life because it's a fun word. It's got a lot of syllables. You can really emphasize it.
Yeah.
But I've known it's like, no, it's insensitive to throw around. It's unfortunate, but
it does not have the same amount of hate of some of the other words that you could say for things. One of which they also say a few times or have said a few times, and that was weird hearing in a podcast.
It's hard to allude to without saying it, but
I mean, it's the F slur for a homophobic F slur. And so I know that there was a period in time where that was kind of like the insult you would give to people in the gaming industry because that's how
trash
gamers
talk
were
or something.
Yeah. And that's kind of why it comes up every now and then. It's still really weird hearing that come from a podcast with it was a pretty big podcast when it ran. Like it was no slouch. So, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely just kind of the times have changed more than you think, like hindsight 15 years kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just super weird.
Odd. I'm currently listening to like 2010 era like Bombcast still, and I haven't noticed any like totally out of step with like modern thinking kind of stuff. But yeah,
this brought me down a weird rabbit hole of just kind of like, I remember like what controversies have kind of like, what are things that could cancel people in this industry at large from back then now, and there's like so many things to name. One incident in particular happened where Ryan Davis used the F slur while playing a game live.
Shadow Planet, I think it was.
Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet.
Yeah, I remember this happening and like seeing the fallout from it. I've never actually seen the clip. I just know he was very like
the clip doesn't exist.
And, like, apologetic after. Yeah.
The clip
was a stream, right?
It was a stream, and the VOD, that part, they replaced the slur with motherfucker seamlessly, so it sounds like he just like swore. But then like it's weird because the VOD, it sounds like he just says motherfucker, and then everyone around him is just like, oh shit, oh, he's getting fired, like way overreacting to a thing he said earlier in this like,
or like
stream.
Says 57 times on like the Rogue Warrior quick look or whatever.
Yeah. And then like looking into it, it's like, oh, okay, they dubbed over it. But he did handle that like with some class. He apologized right away in the VOD itself, but then like this was like after Giant Bomb kind of stopped doing write-ups. He did like a full write-up of like why it was wrong and stuff like that. And this was like in an era before there was like cancellations or what, like nobody cared really. They were just like,
right.
Oh,
like
shit.
he got out ahead of everything and was like, I want to get to this now. I screwed up and said
that was the only time in like recorded Giant Bomb and probably GameSpot history with those guys that there was a slip that bad.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to see because there were a lot more slips from other publications around that time that just like happened regularly.
Like it's just common throwing around.
Yeah.
Nobody's even thinking about it. Yeah. Weird.
So that was kind of interesting to see that like even then, before things became like super woke like they are now.
Maybe it's weird. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think of like the spirit of it. Like maybe like they like the other cast in question thinks they're being ironic or cheeky about it. Whereas like this actually came from a place of anger, so it's worse to the person. Because like when I've lost my cool, like genuinely lost my cool, like I'll casually throw around like fuck you, you idiot or whatever. But if I'm like actually pissed and say the same words but with heat behind them, then I feel bad about it. Like it was like I was actually really upset with a human, and that's the part that feels bad. Like anytime not the word, you know.
Anytime you hear Jeff Bakalar talk about Titanfall 2, it just sends you into a frenzy. The thing, it would be like, I actually have a thing I briefly want to go down on that path just because like it's something I feel I do potentially. Anyway, no, the real thing that would trigger me would be him alluding to Andrew WK like he's the most famous person in the world, which he'll just casually do. He had a song that not a lot of people actually know who wrote when they hear it.
Yeah. No, it was like this little naggy thing that would come up on the Beastcast where like he'd constantly be just like, yeah, like Andrew WK. And it's like, who are you talking about? You're talking about that person like they're John Lennon or like, you know, John F. Kennedy.
He is easily
Michael,
the John
Mike
Lennon
Tyson.
of partying. Okay.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Like, or Trent Reznor, like world famous, huge, hundreds of millions, something.
Trent Reznor is not
what?
Even famous, honestly.
Compared to multiple Oscar winner. I don't know.
But, compared to Andrew WK, Trent Reznor does not party hard, okay? No.
He does not party,
but,
okay.
Like, even when you think, like, famous people, like, Trent Reznor is huge for me, but if I say that
household name to like my grandma, like no.
Like if I say that name to people, like if they don't know Nine Inch Nails, they actually don't know who I'm talking about. at all.
Like, do you immediately cut through when you say, from Nine Inch Nails, and they go, well, I've heard of Nine Inch Nails?
Yeah.
Or do people go, I don't know what that is?
That's how it goes. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So,
but
they usually know by Nine Inch Nails. Yeah.
This would be the nagging thing. But then I realized, like, several times on this podcast in the last, like, few weeks, I just keep saying Neil Cicierega like he's the most famous person ever. And I don't know that you know who that is.
We do that so many times with, like Clint Hawking. Like, nobody in their right mind knows who Clint Hawking is.
World famous designer Clint Hawking. You read his, like, game developers conference keynote from 2009 or whatever, right? It's like, no, nobody did.
The real funny part here, though, is, like, when you are talking about actual famous people, and I don't know who they are because you're talking about basketball people who are, like, legitimately billions of people know, and I don't know.
Sure, yeah. Or whatever. I know sumo isn't famous. Like, I'm talking about Terunofuji. No, like, Mongolia knows who that is. Parts of Japan care. And, like, this 60,000 YouTube channel that I follow, like, we're talking about him. But it's not like, but I hope I'm not, like, doing the Andrew WK thing to, like, other people. Terunofuji and Neil Cicierega, the world famous titans of music and sumo.
And sumo,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. But whatever. I can elaborate on who these people are if I need to, but I care who they are. So I guess I can't fault Jeff for loving Andrew WK so much more than the everybody else.
Sure. It's weird, though, still.
Yeah.
It, like, Andrew WK, I've seen him talk about a few things. He seems like an affable guy. But whenever, like, people hear the party song or whatever, their response is usually, oh, man, I haven't heard this since college. Who wrote this again? They don't know who he is.
Yeah.
So,
like, it's like, in someone's mind, it's like, no, that dude rode that into, like, being the most successful something. It's like, I guess, maybe a little, like, he's still here. So
that song has the lyrics, we do what we like and we like what we do. What else do you want?
Okay. Maybe I'll add it to my playlist or something. But, like, yeah, it was just, that's the one trigger from that whole thing, I guess, that I'll elaborate on.
Sure.
For this.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny thinking about, or, like, re-listening to some stuff and just really kind of digging down into your mind and being like, what is it about this person I don't like? Because I can tell you what it is with Alex Navarro. It's the fact that he says all the time. And I can't unhear it. So listening to him is actually strenuous to me.
Like, it's just like a speech habit thing that just bothers you. Yeah.
The thing is that sometimes he doesn't do it, and it's fine. And, like, when he doesn't, he's fine to listen to. But when he's trying to think of something on the fly or, like, be funny or something, which would be really, really hard because he's with some, like, legitimately just funny people. And I think he's more of an introverted, like, person that thinks things through before he says it. He does the thing every second word like that, and it's crazy to me. I can't unhear it. If I wish I had never, like, understood or
clued into it, or,
I never
like,
clued it because
it.
I used to be fine. I would listen to the screen behind the screen door or whatever.
Their movie show on
other stuff that he's been on it's fine, but then as soon as I clued into it, I could no longer listen to him, and it's infuriating to me.
Yeah. No, that, I mean, I have several, like, things. I can't just listen to that show anymore, but it's okay.
It is different than Giant Bomb in general is so different than. Definitely when, like, you really fell in love with him, different than when I really liked them. It's just a different thing. And I think the one thing you can say about both of us that we have in common, I don't think we deal with change well, either one of us.
No, I like some stability, I guess, in my podcast lineups and how it's structured
life.
And whatever.
Just in everything.
So it's just like, well, good thing there's years of archive, so I can just pretend it's 2010 again and think about Mass Effect 2, which is kind of great timing because the Legendary Edition's out. So if I go through that, I booted it up literally just to check the options menu for you. But no, I haven't actually started that. But now that I'm drafted onto a basketball team and it's just basically play fake basketball, I probably could just like start an adventure and not worry about it. So that could conceivably happen in the next little while here.
Are you thinking of doing 1, 2, and 3? Or are you just going to skip 1?
Definitely 1, actually. Because, two I played the most out of any of them.
Same.
So it's the one I least need to revisit, really. So really, it's 1 I'm the most curious about. Because I remember loving that game. And it was only, like, after the fact that it was like, oh, yeah, the Mako, that thing was so bad. And all the menus with all the guns. And it's like,
the menu was
I guess.
Cool.
I was just so caught up in like replaying it for achievements and stuff. Like I played that one a bunch of times too, to like have different teams and like try to, there's some weird thing where if you stop Saren fast enough or something, I think there's like weird ones in there. I don't know if I'll care about that with Steam achievements, but just like that was a big part of that first game for me, was just running through it again and again with my awful looking shepherd that I made. So I guess if there's a default that's good for Lady Shepherd, that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm excited to do default Lady Shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I hope I don't have any issues. Like, I never had issues with the field of view stuff in my own playing of it on 360 and stuff anyway. So as long as, like, the frame rate's better and it doesn't look terrible, I'll probably be
I'm sure the frame rate will be fine. Yeah.
So hopefully good. No negative BioWare report this week. Like,
no.
Except I was on Metacritic and it's like, oh, Russia is pissed about this. Okay. There's like some language options thing. Like almost every review I was seeing on Metacritic was just like, yeah, why can't I set it to Russian language but English subtitles? What's going on? Or whatever.
Because they're inferior is the reason.
It just seemed to be like, some basic language option was not available, and that was like 1 out of 10. Why is this here? It's like, I forgot about you too, Russia. Sorry.
That is weird.
Yeah. So just calling attention to that.
I never forget about Russia, because anytime we send anything, I gotta have a document, so I always remember it's there. Good old Russia, making my life harder.
That's the country code.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't, over on my end, we're not sending a lot to Russia, but yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
We know it's there.
Nobody should.
Yeah. Looking further back into video game history, are you ready for this week's batch of Forgotten Treasure?
Yeah, shit. I had one for you as well, but I got to write it down. I'll see if I can find it. Okay.
Maybe your memory will be jogged, but
maybe. God, I hope so.
This one has some potential tangents too, but I'm going to try to stay on task here. Although the first one's a bad example. So you remember Prince of Persia 2008?
Yes, I do. Very well, actually.
Yeah. Nolan North and like kind of the watercolor art style, and they kind of changed up how the difficulty was. Like it was like you basically couldn't fail.
A friend of mine came over to my house one night randomly after work. Like I had come home from work. Never really liked the kid. He ended up killing himself later on. Anyways, that night we watched the trailer for that, and he was the most happy I've ever seen him in my life. And I was just oh, that's really sweet. Yeah, I mean, it was years later that he killed himself, for what it's worth.
Okay, it wasn't.
I should make that clear. That was very much later.
Like, this is like another tangent I was not prepared for.
But I remember that game extremely well because they used is it Sigur Rós' track 3 off of the Bracket album for the trailer.
I thought maybe the ending or something, but okay.
No, for that trailer, and like I just remember how like stoked he was watching that. So I will always remember that very specifically for a dude that I barely knew. Yeah. Well,
like, really vibing with this game's presentation. Okay.
Super weird memory, but yes, I do remember it. Go on.
Okay. Just that game kind of made an impact among some people. I think Sean really liked it too over at Top Down.
Sean likes all of them, all of the Prince.
He does love. You know what he does, and even like the weird, not quite a movie game one. So I guess weird example.
He likes that movie, so he likes all of it.
all Prince of Persia. So, hey, maybe he'll like this DS game it's like kind of a contemporary of Pop 08. I just didn't know this happened. It's called Prince of Persia: The Fallen King for the DS. It's just like, oh, weird. I didn't know they basically like had another game featuring Nolan North's like Prince that was on DS, but there's no voice acting.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of like a chibi-headed, like a cartoony art style game. It seems like I thought it looked kind of cool, like just intriguing. But the thing is it's like all touch-based controls, which is like, you know, kind of the review by Carolyn Petit over at GameSpot kind of says that's like the best thing about it and the worst thing about it, because like it's really novel when it's working well, but as soon as you like mistap something or like it just doesn't respond the way you wanted it to, you're like enraged because it's like, dude, I totally pulled that thing. You should land on that. And then it's like, no, he fell. He's dead now. Like just dumb stuff like that. So got a 6 out of 10. So big asterisk next to it. But I really liked the look of the characters. So I was like still like, they kind of made this cute and weird. And the old, like, well-animated, like, series, like the traditional 2D Prince of Persia's, like, those have some charm to them. I'm just bad at them. So I was kind of hoping this would be, like, an easier, like, maybe some of that, like mentality of Pop 08 would be in this, of, like, it's pretty easy going. Like, apparently there's a lot of checkpoints anyway. But, and then you could get some of your, like, canvas curse action or whatever, where you're touch screening your way through a kind of cartoony adventure. But, it might not be good. So there's that. Yeah.
Okay.
Next up is a game that, like, to me, I always heard described as kind of like Prince of Persia, but it's really people who made Tomb Raider, like the 3D, like original Tomb Raider made this game. Galleon Islands of Mystery for the Xbox.
Okay. No,
yeah.
I don't know it.
Yeah. It's a 3D, like, pirate adventure platformer.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in development hell, I guess, for years for the Dreamcast. So it kind of looks really old, even when it finally came out on the Xbox. That was like the big mark against it. Was like in 2002 or 3 or whatever. It looked like it was from 1999. So kind of ugly.
This is early. This is like reboot, like a game gets loaded in type graphics. This is fucked up.
Yeah, no, like Alex Navarro reviewed it and gave it a 7. Like it's rough sounding because it's like the environments are really big, so that's cool, but they look terrible, so that's bad. Yeah. But they're extremely well voice acted characters, so that's great, but they look so bad. Like it's just this kind of like it's this weird review where it's like, man, there's some great stuff going on in here, but like I wish it wasn't in this hellish development cycle. Yeah. Because it's like, it seems like the developers just at some point had to be like, all right, we got to ship it. Like, we've taken too long. Like, here it is. We did our best kind of thing. And then there's like some weird camera stuff, it sounds like, with like your movement is locked to the left stick and the camera is locked to the left stick. Like, it's just early 3D navigation type stuff. But some of these giant areas do sound kind of cool, and it's like Tomb Raider clout behind this, so it kind of had like a open adventuring, exploring like 7 giant islands kind of thing was the levels. Like it still sounds kind of neat, but it's just this weird dated thing. So yeah, Galleon Islands of Mystery. I didn't even know it had a subtitle before I like looked into it this week. I thought it was just called Galleon, but anyway. No recollection. Hey, this is just actual, and this one's pirate themed, so actual treasure.
I never owned
in it.
I've never owned an Xbox. Anything you name that was on Xbox is a no. Okay. My friend did. So like, unless it was popular and he bought it and I played it there, it's a no.
That was sort of my experience too. Is like a friend, like his main console that generation was the Xbox, so that's where I played that stuff. And then eventually I got like a cheap ass Xbox when I worked at EB. Because it was like $40 or something.
Okay.
But then it's just like, great, now I have a bunch of Xbox games and this thing for never, because I bought a 360. Why would I play this? So it's just been like sitting around waiting for me to go back in time. Which might affect this next game too. It was Armed and Dangerous. It's a third-person shooter
Armed
with
and
a
Dangerous.
comedy bent. Yeah.
So this is the most like generic fucking name ever. Let me look it up quickly.
Pretty boring name, but it's like kind of a goofy game. I actually played this one. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen this one.
Okay. I want to say, did LucasArts publish this? Anyway, I didn't look into that, but it's like 2003 era. It is a third-person shooter with like crazy characters in a sort of medieval type setting, like fantasy steampunky thing. You have like a robot buddy and like a mole as your friends, and you're running around shooting stuff. The thing was like crazy guns. Like there's a land shark gun that like puts a shark under the ground and it swims around and like kills a bunch of guys, kind of like Dynasty Warriors level of guys, like hundreds of guys. And then there's another one that like it's like a corkscrew you put into the earth and then the entire map flips and everybody falls into the sky. Was like the other kooky weapon that I remember from this game. But it was, I remember it just being kind of like a fun, stupid thing that was like, hey, at least this has some personality and isn't cringy and bad, like at the time. I don't know how the shooting handles, but in its day, Jeff Gerstmann gave it a 7.3. The cutscenes aren't well animated, was like one of the main things I remember him saying was a problem with it, because they're like well written and funny, but they look like trash. So there's that.
This was made by the same people that made Giant Citizen Kabuto. Weird.
What is that game all about? Like, because I keep kind of hearing about that game, but I've never went back and like played it. Is it a platformer?
It's a third-person action game.
Okay. For PS2, right?
I think so.
Or Dreamcast
I'm looking at it on Steam, actually. It is $10 Canadian. So
okay.
Also, the one
Giant Citizen Kabuto, yeah.
The one you mentioned is also on Steam for $6 Canadian.
Okay. I saw it was on PC also, and I don't know that I'm like game to go back, because I'm sure it hasn't aged well, but I remember it being reasonably charming at the time.
Other
kooky
things
guns,
the studio has produced, or not produced, made, Disney Tangled and Disney Games Princess and Fairy Pack.
Okay. I liked the movie Tangled, but that was a long time ago even. I enjoyed it once. I can't even really vouch for it anymore. Sure. It was okay at the time. But okay, Armed and Dangerous, 7.3. Just gonna like remind the Earth about that. Then now we're moving into like a franchise that I just feel I need to know more about for myself, because it just looks charming to me. Hamtaro, Ham Games.
So, do you remember Tessa at all?
No.
Pander was her online handle.
Okay. I'm gonna still say no.
A long time ago, she wrote up a thing on the site that was about
Hamtaro.
No, about being a furry porn artist.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. I do remember this article anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
She is super into Hamtaro. Is like. This is like the type of thing where, like, I wish I had like a phone a friend to have this conversation, because you could actually learn something. I can't teach you anything. Okay. I have no idea.
No, it's fine. I'm just like, you know, there was this wave of like GBA games and stuff. This one's Olympic themed, the Ham Games. And it did not get a great review at GameSpot, like 5.6 from Frank Provo. But at the same time, like the criticisms are just like, yeah, this is really simple and silly and kind of for kids. And it's like, it looks adorable though. There's all these hamsters and they're like running and like doing Olympic events and picking carrots and stuff. Like this just looks funny. Like I would probably just be laughing or having a good time with these mini games. So I'm not writing this off as a thing I could never enjoy because it seems lighthearted and fun. So I'm still like probably going to look into some Hamtaro GBA games next time I'm at the video game trader, like just to kind of have them. Because it's like, based on the criteria for these reviews, it's like, yeah, dude, you should not pay $40 for like 2 hours of minigame fun. But it's like, oh, sure, I guess. But they're probably like $5 now and nobody cares about the value on that, you know? Yeah. So for 2 hours of like funny hamster fun, that's a great deal. Like, so I'm just glad it was developed at all at this point. I'm not like, it's not competing for my Minish Cap money or something that would be a better value, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm intrigued by the Hamtaro franchise. It seems like minigames and kind of, you know, cute art style stuff. Like, that sounds great. But it's licensed, so I doubt it's on any like virtual console or anything. Right? Because it's like a show.
Yeah. So
I guess this is where we need Tessa's expertise.
And as far as I know, like, she speedruns one of the games, and I think she does it on emulator for that reason.
Oh, okay. Just because it's not readily available?
Just like a bitch to find, like, these games or something. So
I mean, I got my 3DS like around, so I could probably just throw a cart in there, and it would be okay.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if Ham Games is even like the best example, but it was the one that there was like an ad for in Nintendo Power, and I was like, oh yeah, right, these happened. I wonder how they are. So yeah. And then the final one, the best reviewed of the bunch for this week's Treasures, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy.
Don't know this one.
Yeah, apparently it's a Zelda-like game, 8.2 from Alex Navarro. And it's just kind of a Egyptian-themed action-adventure. Yeah.
I have definitely seen this cover art before. Okay.
Doesn't it, like, I feel the cover art kind of puts it in this, like, oh, it's probably like Tak and the Power of Juju or something. Like, you wouldn't think much of it.
I definitely have seen this cover art and ignored it at the video store.
Right? Like, I feel like reading into it, it's like, no, dude, it's actually like a pretty good adventure. It's like, oh, that's a shame. Like, it's like they mismarketed it maybe because like it looks really corny and stupid. But you play as two different characters with like different powers. And honestly, like, what was that? The Missing or whatever, that swirly side scroller where you can like die. It kind of has that mechanic. It sounds like as the mummy, you are invincible to death.
Oh my God. I remember something about this, like maybe on G4 or something. That sounds super familiar.
Yeah, okay. It's like because you're undead already, you can like set yourself on fire and like solve puzzles or like get chopped up and like solve puzzles and stuff like this. Like it was like doing that concept a bit in those sections. Like as the mummy, you're solving puzzles with your dead body. Like so it sounded kind of like, okay, that's kind of funny. That's got a tone to it. So I don't know. It's still kind of on my radar as like this could be actually a fun little thing that I just totally ignored because the cover art was dumb. So, you know, maybe worth looking back at. So yeah, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy by Eurocom. That's a video game. So those are the ones this week.
I have something to bring up. This is a different game. Do you like first person horror games? Or think of the era around Condemned, Criminal Origins, Bloodshot.
Oh, yeah. I like those games a lot, yeah.
Okay. There's a game that is a little bit of lesser quality, I would say mediocre, that came out around that time. Called Cryostasis, The Sleep of Reason. Have you heard of this?
Oh, is this for PC?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, no, Dave Snyder of Giant Bomb was like way into this game, and I had it, but it was like Eastern European developed like crashy game. So I couldn't play it well on my computer and just kind of went, this seems neat, but it's broken. I will leave.
It's definitely one of those games that was like made in the era of people complaining about Doom 3 not having a flashlight. So there's a lot of like corridors that are dark and you have a gun and a flashlight at like all times to like go through it. And it looked like a less competent version of Condemned, really, because those games are like pretty great.
Well, it's Monolith and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it looked super neat. It's and kind of like before Capcom really started doing we have to put a ship in every Resident Evil because ships are scary. It's like a game set.
Yeah, it's like a frozen ship. Like a bunch of people have died on this boat, and I think you're sort of solving their deaths too as like part of it. There's like a time mechanic where it's like, oh no, this guy's like dead and his body's frozen across this door. But if I like go into cryostasis and see how it happened, I can like change how he died. And then he'll be blown across the room and this door won't be locked anymore. Like stuff like that. It had like weird mechanics. Yeah.
This is one of the games I think fits perfectly in your segment here that
treasures of old.
People should maybe check out, but like more importantly, they should probably just release this on a more stable engine and build for like the masses, or kind of redo some of these ideas.
Yeah, but neat ideas in there. Yeah, like with Galleon and stuff too, it sounds like neat exploration zones and like neat ideas, but it was just like too late when it happened even, so unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the things I'm threshing for in this category. But yeah, kind of. The other note that I love for the Sphinx game was like it's apparently best on GameCube, which is great because that's like my preferred platform for that era. Yeah, it's just like because it's a Zelda clone essentially, it like maps really well to cloning like Wind Waker control scheme and stuff. So it's like, oh, cool, that's great.
I always felt bad for the GameCube because I felt like more things should have been developed on it. So when I hear that there's like something kind of competent on it, it makes me a little
best more, on GameCube. It's like, what? Really?
It makes me a little more like, damn, should have checked that out back then.
Speaking of first-person horror from that era GameCube, like, did you ever check out Geist? Because that was always a game I like wondered if it was anything, you know, like. Because I like Ghost Trick, and it sounds like it does basically like mechanics like that, like possession to like freak people out, but in first person on the GameCube. But it could also just be boring and not anything. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've checked that out at a friend's house. I think he owned it. I don't remember much about it, like, at all.
It just doesn't stand out, right? Like, looking at it and like reviews at the time, it was definitely like, it seemed like everybody kind of shrugged. It was like, like a 7, you know. So I don't know if that one's a treasure or not. I won't include it on a future because we just talked about it. But
I do want to bring up one more game, and it's a game that if people have ever heard me talk like about weird games that nobody ever talks about anymore, Singularity is one of my favorite shooters from that. Like,
no, the cryostasis talk definitely reminded me of Singularity vibe-wise, too, because it's like actually... Well, one is actually made in like Russia, and one is set in Russia by Americans. Yeah. So different, but both kind of Bioshock-adjacent weirdness, yeah.
That's actually a good way to put it. Like, if you like Bioshock, you should check out this weird, darker type of game called Singularity. But that was... Raven Software
with, like,
before.
Way chunkier combat. Like, I just remember, like, fragging dudes and being like, wow, this actually has some of that. It's Raven that developed it. Yeah. And, I remember really enjoying it in 2010. I think it made my top list that year just because it was fun. Like, it was just a fun
remember,
game.
Also, it played with that time mechanic of, like, there were things you could, like, there were parts where you could just straight up, like, rewind time or, like, open a rift in time or something. But it was
or
more
make like a little time bubble and shoot a bunch of bullets into it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but like there's also parts where like, oh, I can't get through this area unless I do that because back then this hallway wasn't exploded. So if I put this hallway into that time period,
into the 60s or something,
or like
I can
this,
navigate. Yeah.
I think there was even stuff like this note, like for like lore, you can't read it now because it's burned up in the fire, but you can like rewind the laboratory and get all the lore. Like,
so it's kind of a clunkier version of the Titanfall 2 time travel mechanic, which
it was
the best
definitely
part of that game.
It was definitely clunky as hell, I will say.
Yeah.
I remember
it was
even
like
back
all
then,
about that,
even being like, "Oh, this is fucked up in some spots."
A little bit, yeah.
It's like some weird electromagnetic, like time travel mechanic that like only affects an area you shoot with it or like turn it on in. It's weird.
Yeah. But Nolan North also in that game, but not as the protagonist. He's just like some dude that gets smoked. It's weird.
Oh, was that like before his rise to fame then?
It's kind of during it, I guess. Yeah. Like, I mean, Uncharted 2 would have happened, but I'm sure the recording sessions for Singularity had already wrapped, so you're not going to like lean into it.
That's a game that like has been talked about a bunch. Me and Sean really like it. Anytime Raven gets brought up, that game gets brought up basically. I know you and I have talked about it probably multiple times. I feel that it should just be talked about again in Hidden Treasures because not many people.
Yeah,
people
I'm
talk
sure.
about.
I'm sure it's still fun. It's probably like kind of a lightweight, nothing really like story and whatnot, but it's like
Probably
action focused BioShock kind of thing with Russian flavor.
it's still pretty pricey. Wow,
That's Activision for you.
yeah,
They
it's
don't
$33
discount.
Canadian.
Yeah,
Man, that's a
maybe wish list that if that's like $15.
Oh no, this is the way you buy it. You buy the Activision bundle for $700 Canadian. And then you get games
What a
like Gun
savings.
and Prototype and Call of Duty 1, 2, 4, World at War. You know what? I'm not going to name
you
all
don't
these.
was 3 a console exclusive? Where's Treyarch's 3?
I don't know. I
What's
don't see
going
it.
on?
I see Call of Duty, Call of Duty United Offensive 2, Geometry Wars, Call of Duty 4. Like, it just skips it in this list.
Wow. The Modern Warfare rap killed that game. Amazing.
The Modern Warfare rap. I need to hear that.
Because they like diss it in the like they're like the third Call of Duty from Infinity Ward in like the fourth game to just like flip off Treyarch. It's weird.
Dude, it's
that
so
beef
weird
era.
that it's not in here. So there's a lot of games in here.
I don't know
scrolling.
that there was ever a PC version. That's the thing. I know it was on
Okay.
360, but I guess they just never bothered to bring it over ever. Like here we are in 2021, and it's just nope. That
Oh
World
my
War II
God.
game is gone.
I just realized what I just quoted you was the price I would pay because I already own some of these games. This bundle is
Okay.
actually more expensive.
Dude. No, Activision's the worst at that. Like, I was legit, like, just hearing for years about Black Ops and how it was kind of neat and just wanted to check it out. I eventually just got the PS3 version used because it was like $10.
In a
Because it was
bin.
like never,
Yeah.
it was never not 40 on like Steam. And I'm like,
Totally.
I'm not paying that for just the single player content a decade later. That's not going to happen.
And it's weird
So-
too because like Activision, it's only on PC that they do this. They like charge a tax on it or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
It's like,
understand.
no, we always have a multiplayer community, so you will pay. And it's like, I don't want to play multiplayer with any of those people. They will call me dated terms from old podcasts if I do that. You can't be doing that.
I feel
So-
like I should say it's only one host that like it's almost even worse saying that it was only one host that like used a lot of those terms. I can tell you which one off air if you want to know, but like
It's okay.
Maybe that dude's just a racist in some way or something. Who knows?
But yeah, it's just I don't know. I was not willing to make that jump for that game, and I had an okay time with the campaign. And then I played a little bit of zombies by myself, and like Ronald Reagan was there or something, and then I just stopped playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't need the full situation. But
Sure.
anyway, okay. I have like my other recurring segment, I guess, is like the masterclass thing, but I have like a 2-part thing because I'm actually kind of mad at masterclass this week because they patched their video player to make cooking lessons like really annoying.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Wait, what?
Like,
Okay.
yeah. Previous to this week, when you'd watch a cooking video, it's just you're watching this guy baste some fish or whatever for like 20 minutes. Just observe, learn things, and you're good. Now there is a little thing in the top corner that just says view ingredients. Check out this recipe like the whole time. And it's like, no, dude, I downloaded the workbook. I have the recipe. I'm not actively cooking right now. Why is this on the screen? And there's no way to make it go away because I guess they kept having this issue where people didn't know they're entitled to PDFs of the recipes also. So they're trying to surface that.
This is
for
kind of just
everybody.
like a problem I've had like in the digital age in general of everybody like doing things for the lowest common denominator of society and
Of the
fucking
user base.
me over in the process. Yeah.
Like I was like digging through every menu I could find of just like, okay, I don't need this feature. So what's going on? And like emailed them. It's like, I don't need this feature. What's going on? And they're just like, yeah, we're trying to like get people to download this. So like, it's just like, there's no solution at all. So I was kind of mad at them. So I'm going to pivot. The master this week is actually Ed Wood Jr., filmmaker extraordinaire. because I read his book, and he has a book called Hollywood Rat Race, which is just this weird little biography of him, like, ostensibly giving advice to, like, how to make it in Hollywood. And it is the funnest person to hear that from because he's sort of like the bastion of failure and like B-movie schlockery, but he's so completely enthusiastic about movies in a way like I can't even get to. And like, you know, I've Phil Miner doing a movie podcast. Like I'm really excited about movies. Ed Wood was so all about movies, and it's just fun to hear. Like, it's just neat to read him just like getting so excited about this character actor that was in this one cowboy movie that he loved, that he saw on the street at the Brown Derby restaurant or whatever. Like, he's just like bubbling over with just energy, and like calling out haters and calling them haters in like the 50s for people, these Hollywood haters, like they come out here and they're just, oh, I don't like being in movies, but I'm in movies. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you get your privilege to be here and be part of this magic. Like, he's so
Ed Wood referring to all the people in Hollywood as cucks.
Like, he is like angry, and it's really funny. Like, it really reflected well on that movie. Like, the energy and enthusiasm of like Johnny Depp's version of him really rang true, and I was like happy to have that happen because I wasn't sure how imagineered up that version of him was. But it's like the person he put on paper himself is kind of like that. And he's constantly talking about his buddy Bela Lugosi and like, oh, I met the great Bela Lugosi and there was this thing. And he's like telling this tale about like this show that Bela Lugosi did, but it was really just a public appearance where he essentially just went up on stage and went like, thank you all for coming. I will meet you in the mezzanine and sign things. And that was it. But like, hundreds of people showed up for this, and it's like, that sounds terrible. Like, he didn't do anything, but everyone was apparently so stoked, and just like he met with everybody, and it was this big awesome thing. And it's like, I hope that's what happened. I hope that's really what happened, and Ed Wood was there, and it was like, oh, line round the block, 1,200 people just to see Dracula, and for New Year's Eve or whatever. It's like, yeah, all right, maybe that happened. I really hope it did. This is great. So I don't know. I don't even know that I'd call him a master of movie making, but he's like a master of optimism. Like, he is just so jazzed up, even when he's like failing. It's just fun to like see the attitude expressed here. So yeah, Hollywood Rat Race, Ed Wood Jr. And I don't know, just as like a tangent, I'm going to make like a Hungarian chicken recipe as like a little tip of the hat to Bela Lugosi this week as like a bonus. I bought all the ingredients, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So Bela Lugosi and Ed Wood tearing it up in Hollywood in the 50s, according to him. So yeah, it was a fun time.
Cool.
So yeah, and fix your player masterclass, because what is going on? I don't need to know about these carrots the entire time.
I have a weekly segment to do. God damn it.
Yeah. Stop messing with it. So yeah. And that's mostly what I have. The other thing is I just want to share this like combination that's really been working for me for breakfasts. Okay. Coconut yogurt and strawberries. Okay. They go real nice.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I kind of don't like strawberries. And it's not that I don't like strawberries themselves. It's just that they're too sweet for me.
Okay.
They're a little too much.
It seems like the bigger they get, the less sweet they are.
Yeah, that might be like legit then. Just buy some huge ones, chop them up or something.
Like actual wild strawberries, like tiny ones, really sweet. You're right. Like they're powerful. But these are getting big out here. So they're almost a little bland, which is why you want that coconut yogurt to boost them up.
I do like coconut. Yeah. I know a lot of people don't. I really like coconut. I'm a big fan. So that actually
that's
legit.
My flavor wave that I kind of stumbled upon just because there was a yogurt sale.
Yeah, we got to find a stainer for that.
The flavor wave, coconut yogurt and strawberries for spring treat. That's my food advice, I guess. And I'll report back on this chicken if it pans out. But it's called paprikash. A lot of paprika is going to go in this thing. So I hope I don't burn it.
Ooh, I do like a bit of paprika. Okay. That sounds pretty good. Yeah, that sounds like it could be good. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah. I will try not to. Some Hungarian in the comments of the recipe I was watching was like, dude, take it off the heat when you put the paprika in, or you're going to burn that paprika, and then you're going to screw it up. And it's like, okay. I will take that into consideration. So hopefully we have everything we need. But
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And
I have a treat for you. Hopefully this can be a segment. But it unfortunately requires people to actually do something. We got a voicemail. I don't know what magic it is, but there is a link on all the show notes of wherever this is posted. I couldn't tell you an address for it. It's through Anchor or something. There's like a link you can click on, and then it's literally just like the browser or whatever you do it through wants to use your microphone. Do you allow it? You can click yes, and then it's just like, all right, when you're ready, record your voicemail. You push a button, talk, and then it sends it to us. It's super easy.
Okay. You set this up a while ago, and something came through the pipe?
It's just through Anchor. Like, it's just a thing you can do. And I just was like, oh, that's interesting. I'll link to it and see if anybody ever actually reads the show notes. Somebody did. We got a voicemail here, and I'm going to try to play it to you. So if you don't hear something when I'm done talking in about, I don't know, 3 seconds, let me know. But you should be able to hear.
Start waving or something? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So now you can't hear it, can you? Hold on.
No, I cannot.
Let's try now. Whoa, no. Now let's try.
Hey, Nathan and Paul. It's Dead and Sky here, and I started playing Titanfall 2 for the first time last week, right before listening to the most recent episode. I finished it out, and I think that the post-time travel sections are just as fun, and the game sticks to the landing. The tower defense level is not tower defense, nor the last 2 hours of the game. You just have a central hub you go back to a few times. The wall running and double jump mechanics feel very satisfying, and the environmental set pieces made traversal in this game a joy. The soldier gunplay is standard fare, some guns are crap but you can ignore those, and it has some very innovative grenade options. The mech combat had collectible loadouts that were fun to experiment with and felt great. Time travel was the most interesting gimmick visually, while some gimmicks made gameplay or set pieces more fun. The campaign is a bit stacked compared to something like Halo, but it's definitely my favorite single playthrough of a shooter campaign of the last decade. However, it did not inspire me to make a sandwich.
Okay.
Oh, sandwich.
It did not inspire me to make a sandwich.
Well, that's really the bar I set. No, that's I guess, yeah. Okay, if it's a hub area, I just got to it and assumed what it was and tapped out.
I don't remember these.
Oh wait, I'm defending
options.
This base.
I wish I remembered that, because I don't remember that at all. That sounds interesting.
I guess it was just a pacing thing. Once they ripped an ability away from me, I was like mad at it, so I walked away. You know, like it was almost the inverse of like, you know how Halo or Half-Life 2 ends with like you get the souped up gravity gun.
Yeah.
It'd be like, what if that happened and then they took it away and then there's 2 more hours of you like running around in City 17 escorting some people or something.
Oh, I see.
I don't want to do this. Why would I do this now? Like we're done. Or you play inside and the thing happens and then you're a little kid again for another hour and you're like, what? Who cares now?
The thing happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, like that was my perspective of it. But I don't hate hubs like, you know, ODST does that.
It honestly doesn't even sound like
Wolfenstein.
Maybe you were a little riled up just due to the conversation last week. It doesn't sound like you actually hate Titanfall 2 even.
No, so it was just kind of like I felt it got like this weird reversal thing that happened where it was like, it's so overshadowed. It's like the critic's darling. And it's like, it was okay, but like, it's not a like 10, you know, it was okay.
I don't think it's even overshadowed though, because I've heard the fact that like people love it a lot.
Right. I guess it was the Battlefield thing at the time, like when it launched weirdly. Like it was people being mad at EA and it getting launched alongside other big shooters seemingly on purpose, and it got crowded out, which is sort of tragic. But yeah, it was, I don't know, just one of those things in my craw. And then getting really mad at the first game was more just like it was multiplayer only and not like a fully made thing was my like perception of it. Like it was like our 2014 conversation was more like that was like a year where a bunch of ideas like started and then they made better iterations later.
Like in the next year or something.
Yeah, so like Titanfall to Titanfall 2, like Sunset Overdrive to like Spider-Man.
For what it's worth, like that might have been the last year people liked BioWare. That's even sadder, actually. That's a worse thing to say.
Yeah, because I mean, I never got into Inquisition, but it did win like Game of the Year awards and stuff.
I thought it was fine. It's just, I don't know. I kind of wanted maybe a little bit more from Dragon Age at that point.
I was worried I was going to get more anger from that call because I was pretty mean to Titanfall. So thank you for the graciousness of the voicemail. I was bracing for like severe tarring and feathering.
Dude, I feel bad because I've been pronouncing his name Dedinsky for the last like 10 years. So Dead in Sky, I got it.
Okay.
Like, I guess I've never just heard him say his own name before. So, all right.
Yeah.
Now I know.
So there you go. So, okay. It has a better conclusion than I assumed, apparently. So, Titanfall 2. It is cheap. Like, if people want to, like, just find out this time travel thing, too, it's not like it's not worth looking at ever. It was just when I did, it was like, you know, like, it didn't totally pop for me. So, I was resentful. But that's the hype machine.
I mean, maybe at some point you revisit it and fall in love with it. Like, people can... A lot of...
Yeah, I'll wall run my way to victory. And
I found that...
It did have that, yeah.
I found that, like, a lot of times games are just more of a reflection of who you are when you play them more than they are...
Yeah.
Because the games don't change. They're fucking code. And you push buttons until, like, credits appear, essentially. So, like...
Sure.
But
so
like,
if you have the patience for what it's up to, then you'll have a good time, and if you don't, you won't.
If in that era, like, there was an era there where I was like super into like Forza and Gran Turismo, I just really liked like sitting down on the couch and doing some like really specific racing with like cars that handled all differently, and that was like for a year or two. And now I couldn't give a fuck less. So those games are not interesting to me at all. But at that time, they were like 9 or 10 out of 10s for me. So
it's just like, this is what I want to be doing right now. So this
people change, like opinions can change, and if they don't, they don't. Like, everything doesn't ever resonate with people. I found it weird that somebody that listens started playing a game that we talked about just like the week before or the week of that we started talking about it. Just weird.
Well, that's where it's like, I don't know if it's Reddit or what, but like I've just been getting this vibe that like people are like looking back at Titanfall 2 because of Apex in some weird way. Like it's causing a ripple effect of like investigating it.
It was free to play for a bit, maybe because of Apex. I don't know.
Yeah,
probably.
I feel like Respawn wants to make more, so they're maybe trying to get.
I feel like
up.
your bigger problem with Titanfall in general is that you're not a big fan of Apex, and you kind of like.
Well, it's just like, were
never
they ever
had
good
the one if player? I don't like Apex?
I wasn't even that mad at Apex. I just didn't play it very much.
Oh,
like, I was the jerk that was just like, I'm going to leave because I really want this to be a single player game. So I ruined a couple teams and then just was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm just ruining this for other people. So whatever. I will.
It is kind of fucking stupid. You can't just like play solos.
1 versus 63 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's... I don't know. The Royale genre, man, I'm not on it at all right now. So, yeah, too old. Yeah, well, except Mario 35. If they want to bring it back,
I think this is a good time. I got my Neil
Ciceric albums. I'm ready.
I think this is a good time to say that if you want to have your voice played, click the link in the show notes, and we'll get it, and that'll happen.
Yeah.
Try not to be an asshole. Because I can't... There was a time where we could handle voice calls from anybody. I don't know that I can just handle people just being unnecessarily dickish anymore.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're going to, like, chew me out about a game, do it like Dead in Sky did, and don't just, like, call me... well, I'm not going to say porch anything. But, you know, don't dig into the bag of old insults.
Yeah, and, definitely don't say what a podcast host from 2007 and 2008 era would say. Please do not do that.
No, it's 2021. We can't say those things. We'll probably regret other things we say in a decade, but I don't know why. We'll find out later.
Yeah, but that's the way that you can send us your message in a bottle as we leave the port and sail off, Nathan.
Oh, man, it's even called Anchor, which is great, but whatever. So, yeah, we're going to haul anchor. Thanks for sailing with Paul and Nathan on the good ship Pixel Response.
Bye.
Wow, that's perfect. Having anchor right at the end. Yeah.